There are some instances where my father is questionably controlling. For some reason, he finds it his obligation to have control over our hair. It wasn't allowed to get a haircut with a fade for boys. When my brother got one, my father shaved his entire head as a punishment. My brother wasn't leaving home without a cap for a couple of weeks. That's how much embarrassed he was. For girls, it was more extreme, however. We weren't allowed to cut or get rid of any hair pretty much. We couldn't shave legs or arms. We couldn't flick eyebrows or even mustache hair. These were ordinary things to do for girls around our age. Of course, we didn't have control over our head hair as well. My father was against cutting hair short. My older sister once decided to get what is known as a boy cut, basically a very short haircut. She was wearing a beanie so my father wouldn't notice. When he did, he stopped talking to her for a while. At least it didn't go violent. My uncle was lucky enough to stumble upon a family that produces the perfect wives. They have every feature a Saudi man wishes. Straight hair, white skin, beautiful face, good with makeup, slim and curvy bodies, shy but social, can cook, and of course religious, which makes them willing to be slaves to their husbands. MashaAllah. It didn't take long for my other uncle to marry one of them as well. My mother and my aunts were complimenting the two wives too much. That gave us young girls the impression that we must look up to them and try to mimic them. It was kinda pressuring. One time the two wives gave us a visit. One of my aunts was home at the time to aid my mother who was postpartum. I was not present and only arrived when they were about to leave. I shook their hands, ma'a salama, or goodbye. My aunt commented on my action. Why didn't you say salam? I cluelessly replied, why would I? They are about to leave. My aunt looked at me and shook her head in disappointment. Later that night, I overheard my mother talking to my sister and brother about the situation. Your sister embarrassed us in front of the women. I screamed, am I not allowed to make mistakes? Another instance was when my older sister and I were visiting grandmother's house with my mother and the two wives. We were in a room with the same aunt. It was a grief day for Shia, which means the day one of the imams of Shia died. My aunt started reading from one of the Shia books. I noted my mother and the two wives covered their faces with their veils. My sister and I, however, had no idea what's going on and how to properly react. My aunt said in a loud and angry voice, weren't you taught to cover your faces in the presence of imams? My sister covered her face in shame right away, but I was so embarrassed that I just lowered my head and stayed still. Now that I think about it, my mother and aunts were probably embracing the wives out of envy. They weren't very fit and didn't have other features like straight hair. Also the fact that 3 of my aunts were over 30 and still unmarried. That makes them old maids in Saudi. I graduated high school and applied to university. A call came to my father telling I was accepted in College of Nursing. I don't know why they called my father instead of me. Nonetheless, it was a very great opportunity for me. I was dreaming of working in a hospital, and more job opportunities are available in that field than any other field, for girls at least. That, however, was debatable for my father since the job is accompanied with interacting with the other gender. Thankfully, one of my aunts managed to convince him to let me study nursing. All the public universities in Saudi Arabia give their students a sum of money each month. We call it reward. It helps students with necessities such as books, food, and transportation. Each student is given an ATM card with their name, but the bank account is shared with all the university students, meaning the only way I can access the money is via the card. As soon as I got my card, my father took it away, supposedly so I don't use the money recklessly for unnecessary things. He was giving me a small amount when I ran out of money. There was a period of time during which there was a new rule to withdraw the money as soon as it deposits to the card, or the money will go back to the university. I was checking with my father to ensure he was withdrawing the money out of the card. Each time he either ignores or says he did. A few months later he came to me and asked if I ever used the card because there was a few months worth of rewards missing. Unlucky, I guess, I thought. Back then, driving for women wasn't allowed. We students had two options for transportation. Either find a male family member who is willing to take responsibility, or, for the unlucky girls like myself, find a private transport corporation. I hated those vans. Going to university took much more time than going directly by car, also because it costed me around half of my university reward per semester. Just uncomfortable in general. During my first year of university, I came to realize that covering my entire face wasn't gonna work if I wanted to continue studying nursing. I have to actually see my patients to give them the proper care. Wearing niqab didn't have a good reputation in my family, but that was a must for my future job. Finally, I could see the outside world without a veil covering my eyes. Ever since my older sister got married, she has been including my sisters and I in some of her family trips. She probably felt sorry for us because she knows how it feels to be neglected for years. She and her husband somehow managed to convince my older brother to take us to the beach in his car since her husband's is too small to fit all of us. That was the second time ever we got out of the city. The first was when I was 5 years old to Mecca. We were too excited to finally be able to see the beach in reality. However, the trip didn't turn out as fun as we expected. In fact, some of us ended up regretting going in the first place. Once we arrived there, my older brother started acting like a bossy piece of throwing demands at us. When we arrived there, we noted not many people were there and only a few were in water. The sea was very shallow, we have to go very far to be completely covered in water. The two cars were parked in such a way they make a wall to isolate us from other people. My brother was bothered whenever we took off face cover when no one was around. My brother also seemed upset whenever we go to the water. My sister and I decided to go as far as we could to enhance the experience. Even though we made it too far, water was just above our knees. My brother noticed and he shouted at us to come back to land. He claimed there were guys getting close to us, even though the guys were pretty far away minding their own business. He then told the story of a guy who got bitten by a big fish while swimming in the same beach. No one believed that. He, however, convinced us that we can go swimming freely at night. We cluelessly believed him. At night, no one dared to go swim as the sea looked so dark and mysterious. We had no idea the sea is so scary at night. I guess my brother won this round. We wanted to stay in a hotel for the night. My brother didn't like the idea, but he went for a while looking for a hotel to stay in. He returned with the claim that the hotels were very expensive. We later found out it was. What's more sad is that my father gave him more than enough money for this trip. He didn't even have to pay for anything.